in other ways. So I'm going to speak a little bit to just give you a few hints. Somebody can write down because it might come in handy for you no matter where you are. In fact, whatever session you go to, you should always write down, otherwise it's a waste of time. There is so much information floating around in this festival that you are likely to forget 90% of it. So it's always better. I can use your mic, but it's always very annoying.
Stick to the mic.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you. I started People for Animals when I was 23, my husband died, and he left me a very small amount of money, and I decided that this small amount of money would never see me through my life, and my son was just 3 months, and so I decided to make a hospital. So we made a tiny shelter with 8 lakh rupees. That's it. That's all I had, and it was the first shelter in India, apart from a shelter that was already running for many years in Chennai called Blue Cross, which was also a small shelter but a good one. And so this became the first shelter. Now, over the years, I kept looking after the shelter. And then at some point, I went into politics, started winning elections, and started doing things. I became a Minister for Environment at the age of 32. And I used my time to make all the environmental and animal laws for India. I wasn't there for very long, a year and a half, but in that time, we made every single law that exists today, so it's not too difficult. But I learned lessons then. No, it's not about me. What I'm trying to do is to give you a little background. The lesson I learned was that every single person you meet has some kind of influence somewhere. So immediately find out. Now yesterday, I was having breakfast and a lady walked up to me and she said, I'm from India and I represent some business trade association. And I'm here to meet the chief secretary and so minister, and we're also meeting the prime minister. It didn't take me about 1 second to say, all right, can you do this for me? Can you talk to them about the Gadimai, the Gadimai massacre that is about to happen at the end of next year? And can you tell them that if you are here to do tourism, to increase the touristic trade via business, you're not going to do it if Gadimai happens. And I said, do a little bit of arm twisting. So it didn't take me 2 minutes, because every time I see somebody, it takes me about 10 seconds to realize how good they are, how bad they are, and what influence they have. And then I use that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But I'm on the circuit all the time. And that's the first thing, that you're never going to have to let up, never. There are very few of us, and each one of us is going to do double duty till they die. So remember, there are no off days in this. Secondly, how do you use, when you get back, you want to turn people vegan, you don't do it by having conferences like this. These serve a different purpose. These serve to bond all of us together. These serve to get us into the newspapers and get to get us seen as a community. But in actual fact, the work that you have to do has to be with other groups. So I'm going to put them at random, because then you can ask questions or we'll go to the next speakers. For instance, you need to talk to doctors' associations. You want to turn people vegan, that's the quickest way. You want to see it in your lifetime? You know a doctor, let him know somebody. 5 years ago, just out of the blue, Gauri, who's not here, she's chairing some other session, Gauri and I was thinking that unless we get lawyers on our side, we will never be able to do cases in court. And if we don't, we can't change the system, because all governments are apathetic, paralytic. So even our own. So how do we do it? So we at random, because hum dono bahut besharam hai. You know, the word is shameless. So the first is to have no ego, whoever you are. The second is not to waste time. So we carry that as a motto. So we rang up the chairman of the Bar Council, Mr. Manan Mishra, and said, Mr. Mishra, I'd be so delighted if we could meet. So we went off to meet him. And I said, is it possible for you to introduce animal welfare into the legal curriculum of all law schools? And he said, yeah, doesn't sound too difficult. And he did. And it was there within 2 months. After which now we've had lots of lawyers opt for it as subsidiaries, as mains, we've got moot courts. So how does that percolate? So suddenly when that happened, judges said, we don't know anything about the animal welfare thing, so why don't you teach us? So Gauri goes and teaches judges. And I go sometimes, not as often as her, but I go sometimes to teach the law enforcement bodies, police and judges. But it all happened because of that one bahaduri that we did with Manan Mishra. So you are going to find 20 Manan Mishras in your lifetime. The point is to recognize them, and what I start my life with is I put a whiteboard down, and on that whiteboard I make lists. Lists are what will get you through life. What do you want? Who is going to do what? How do you tick mark them and keep yourself alive? Because this place can get pretty despondent. You know, this didn't work, that didn't work, the meat eating is on the rise, something is on the rise. No, it isn't like that. You make your own list, your own goals, you'll find them. So the first is whiteboard stuff. Every day put down what you're going to do, or long term, short term. So this was one of ours. So doctors' associations, the legal association. For instance, secondly, you must realize that politicians are where everything is at. Everything. All power rests with politicians. So to think that we are above politicians or apart from them is foolish. If we ask everybody in the audience here, do you know your member of parliament? They will not. Do you know your senator? No. Do you know your congressman? No. Do you know your municipal councillor? No, you don't. Why not? Why not? You voted for them. So why did you waste your vote? And why did you behave exactly as the politicians wanted you to? Do you understand how manipulated you are? A politician wants you to vote or not vote for him, but he doesn't want to bother with you after that for 5 years.
That's right.
So you're doing exactly what he wants. Why not do it your way and make him now work for you, because he's technically getting a salary as your servant.
Yes.
So instead of saying, I'm not going to consult my politicians, start putting pressure on them. As I said yesterday at a particular meeting, I said that there was one guy called Dheeraj from a lower middle class background, no money, no nothing, just got up in Dharamsala and said, anybody who's standing for corporator elections, which is, you know, your city elections, has got to take a stand on what he's going to do with dogs after he wins. Because we have our street dog issue all the time. So are they going to kill them? Are they going to put them in pounds? Are they going to sterilize them? Are they going to have them adopted? I need to know. And if nobody tells me, I will make sure that they don't get voted for. You know, this one man standing up from nothing, nowhere, was picked up by the press for no reason. And every corporator gave a stand. Every corporator.
Wow.
So you don't have to be connected. You just have to stand up and make yourself unusual. Okay? So the first thing you need to do is to know your local politicians. Go, they like being met. Otherwise they wouldn't be in public life. Go say hello, go give them a gift at Diwali. Everybody loves freebies. Even people who make crores of rupees love 10 rupee freebies. Give them a t-shirt. You know, keep a little bag of goodies for people you're going to meet. They'll remember you. It always works. So one is, get hold of your politician, make friends so that you will need them. For small issues, for big issues, you will need them. Second, get hold of the doctors' associations. Start with one hospital, but go to an association and ask if you can teach them. Secondly, remember, all politicians, all doctors, all busy people have an attention span of an average fly. So, keep things short. Everything should be in less than one sheet of paper. Very simple sentences, and the problem in about 4 lines, the solution in about 8 lines. But doable solutions. Don't give them garbage solutions like, please change awareness, Please bring awareness to the community. They're going to throw this into the dustbin. Give them simple, doable things. Only really very not bright people go into politics. So cater to that. Use them. So even if it's a doctor's association, the person who stood for election in that doctor's association is the person who doesn't do any doctory, as we call it in Hindi. So therefore, use him like a politician. Go to the bar association. Teach them. Nepal has no animal welfare laws. It's the fault of all of the people here who are from Nepal. What is the point of being Buddhist and going to Lumbini and being spiritual and being all nonsense if you can't prepare an ideal law and give it to your local MP and say, for God's sake, get this passed in Parliament? For 20 years we've been trying to get it passed in Nepal. There is no politician I do not meet when they come to India to say the same thing, Gadimai and an animal welfare law. Today you have no protection at all. So who decides what is illegal and what is legal? If I hang a chicken upside down, what are the legal rights of that chicken? None. What are the legal rights of opening a meat shop right next to a vegetable shop? That can be a virtual killer because the same flies sit on both.
Yeah.
But what is the legal protection that you have? None. So why don't you create the legal rights in Nepal? It must be the only country in the world that doesn't have an animal welfare law. So this is where you start from. Second, now the third is, look at places which are easy targets. What is known as low-hanging fruit. You want to influence somebody, there's a factory. A factory has a mess. See whether you can make that mess into a vegetarian mess. Start with whoever the union leader is or whoever owns the factory and ask them if they'll make it vegan, vegetarian, whatever. Once people get used to eating lunch in a vegetarian manner, they may not push it for dinner. So look at small low-hanging fruit. The Godreges in India turned all their factories into vegan messes. There wasn't a chew from any of the unions because they were giving really good food. So the second is, I'm just now throwing out ideas at random. You may remember some, you may not. The fourth would be, contact the Restaurant Association of Nepal or wherever you are and ask them if every restaurant can agree to put 1 or 2 vegan items on their menus and give an award at the end of the year, best vegan menu. Call them and give them an award. It doesn't matter even if you have to make up the ceremony. Give it to 5 people. Call what we know in what I call myself in India, Murga, to give the awards. You know? Some local damn fool who's got nothing better to do, and who's a VIP, and let them give the awards. Okay, then if you can you need to go really big into social media, and that means practicing all the time. Get onto Instagram, get onto Twitter, and get a Facebook. Do not use your Facebook, as many Indians do, to abuse and attack each other. Okay, yeah. That's 90% because it's so irresponsible. Let me give you a story. I'm so sorry, am I taking up everybody's time? You can tell me when to shut up. Okay. But there is a very famous Australian artist, and she recently did a show in which she put 200 items in front of her, ranging from flowers to guns. And she invited the audience to touch her with them and said that this is without consequences no matter what you do to me. And in her write-ups on that, in her filmed things, the audience would start with touching her with flowers and would end up hitting her, trying to take her clothes off, hitting her with guns, pointing knives at her, pricking her with those knives because it had no consequences. The same thing has happened with social media. It has no consequences. Therefore, it brings out the most vicious. So you need to understand that no Facebook attacks any animal welfare person, no matter how bad they are.
Yeah.
So we leave them out. We only say good things. We are the good guys. Many animal welfare people will go and rescue a dog and then come back and rip apart 10 other people by saying the most awful, vulgar things about them. So we're going to be as kind as we are with animals. The second thing is that you need to be in training all the time, which means even when you have nothing to say, you keep tweeting, you keep doing an Instagram, because every 3 days you will have a crisis that needs you. We must become like angry bees or those angry birds, you know. And at the moment, for instance, we have a problem in Kerala where every 3 or 4 years they decide to kill something. They just like killing. So sometimes it's elephants, sometimes it's wild boars, and then everybody descends and everybody kills. And they invent a reason. So at the moment they're on one of their biannual or centennial massacres, and they've decided to kill the dogs. By now we are better off than we were 3 years ago when they did their last ritual killing. So this time we are in place with our social media. So if you can get 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 100,000 is a lakh. If you can get 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakh people to tweet the Chief Justice, the Chief Minister, whoever the political heads are, you frighten them into backing off. Because we tweeted so much in the last 2 days, the Chief Justice, not the Chief Justice, Justice Nambiar, who's a very good judge of the High Court, called a meeting in chambers yesterday. And this was organized by Gauri. And why? Because Gauri is in touch with all the other animal welfare groups. We don't work alone. And all she did was send a message saying, I want everybody tweeting this, and we then give them templates. And you sent enough so that the justice called a meeting in his chambers and said, okay, what should we do? We stop this. And today again he scheduled a hearing. So about 5 years ago, we decided to, Nagaland eats dog meat. And they are very proud of that tradition. And they finished off their own dogs ages ago, so they just bring in meat dogs from Assam and the rest of India and feed them in and kill them. And they're bound in sacks. They're kept for days and days, and they cut their tongues off first so that they don't make a racket. And not their tongues, their vocal cords. And then they just lie there till they're killed. It's a shame, but remember, eating goats is the same shame. Eating anything is the same shame. But dogs have become a thing because you work with them, you live with them. So we decided to now change the law, which could only be changed by the state. So overnight, we sent them 1.5 lakh, 150,000 emails to the chief secretaries and the chief minister saying, stop it, in very respectful language. The next day, they called a cabinet meeting and they stopped it. Then what happened was, it was stopped for about 6 months. And then, because they must have got a backlash from their own cultural, people. So then they sent somebody to the High Court to get a stay on this. Not the government, an association, an NGO which didn't exist. So now we are fighting that. So it's a ping pong game. But at least we made them understand the power of India's anger against them. So what is important is, if you want to change anything, get onto the social media and control it. Make sure you tweet, make sure 20 of your friends, whether or not they're animal welfare people, are there when you need them. Any issue, be available. When we were doing Nagaland, we got people from all over the world to Instagram and tweet it. Okay? The next is, there are people who are professionals at this, called influencers. Normally these influencers become influencers on 2 reasons. A, if they're film stars. 2, if they're people who talk about fashion, all the time. Fine, we don't care what they talk about. But meet influencers. In your city, on net, there are names and phone numbers of influencers. Contact them, ask them if once a week they will tweet for your issue. Tweet for your shelter. Tweet to make money. Tweet for veganism. When a person is an influencer, that usually means that they have more than 25,000 or 30,000 followers. Use them. So one is that. Third is be visible. Be visible meaning go and get tables at all the melas. If you're in the West, you'll have Easter festivals. You have church melas. What is a mela in English? Fairs.
Fair festival.
Be available at every fair. Have a table. And what you do is sell something. T-shirts, small things, scrunchies with "Be Vegan" on it. Something low cost. I mean, last time we took a table, my interns didn't know what to sell, so they just went and face painted, and they made 70,000 rupees face painting, which was a lot of money. But I didn't expect them to make anything. But however, the point is that it keeps you visible. I have entered into an agreement with a group. I pay them 50% of whatever we earn. They have got 3 malls. They've just taken tables at 3 malls free. And they talk the whole day about people for animals. And people then put money into whatever donation, or they send it through Paytm, whatever, and they earn for me about 10 lakhs a month. And we give them 5 lakhs, which is their salaries and whatever they want to do. And it works for both of us. I get money for jam. People get to know people for animals. So see if you can contact mall people. Every mall owner, if you contact and say, give us a table free, they will give it. We have one mall in Delhi where a young lawyer goes every Saturday, Sunday, and he gets the animals from my shelter adopted. Now he does 4 to 5 animals per week, which is not bad. It's 20 animals, 25 animals a month. He sells about 1 lakh worth of t-shirts. Or people for animals, people who's 1 lakh means somebody's wearing my t-shirt somewhere. So talk to malls. Then we've started a new thing which is very effective. Don't bother. I'm going to give you a don't first. Don't bother to go and teach schools. It's a waste of time. They have no power. We just spend all our time concentrating on schools when it's a waste. It's a total waste. Children have no power at all. You have to find shortcuts now, because we're not going to live forever. When I used to do schools about 30 years ago, the children would turn vegetarian and then they'd go home and then their parents would say, oh, if you want to be vegetarian, you go to Maneka Gandhi's house. And that would be the end of that. So they'd be vegetarian for 1 day, which is a waste of my time. So do colleges. In colleges, don't bother to go and lecture to them. Make groups. We have something called PFA Campus, where every college all over the world has got accepted societies. Of course, in America, you have Phi Beta Kappa, blah, 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 blah societies. But in India and Nepal, you have the Drama Society, the Elocution Society, or the Sports Society. And people go in and join them. If you talk to the principals, they will agree to make a permanent society. Not a society made by 5 people who feel like this right now, but a permanent one. If they make a permanent one, then no matter who the children join it or don't join it, the society exists. And then make rules for that society so that it becomes an association of societies across. Now, we started this 2 years ago. It was started by a girl who wrote to us from Patiala saying, I'd like to start it in my college. And then we said, yeah, do it, and then it just spread. We haven't done very well. We haven't done very badly. We've got about 100. And 100 is a lot, but it's nowhere near the 100,000 that we want. But it'll get there. We ourselves have to figure out what works and what doesn't work. But start with this. If you have a group in every college, your army is there. And they then will be on. Then every newspaper, however big or small, needs stuff to fill it. And they need people to read it. So the worst off are on Sundays when they don't know what to do. So why not offer them a small question and answer column? We do that in India, and I start with newspapers that have no circulation. or circulate. When I say no circulation, I mean 500 people, 1,000 people. Doesn't matter to me how small it is. And we already have ready-made questions and answers. What, my dog has got temperature, what does it mean? And I'll give, and I make my units get a column, and then we feed them the questions and answers so that they don't waste time looking up. So my dog has got mange. How do I get rid of it? Just start with simple things like that. Why do dogs bite and not cats? Or some things, whatever. So if one can start that in Nepal, I write for some unheard of paper in Nepal as well. I've stopped writing now in the last 1 year, but I did do it. And for Sri Lanka, but you can do it. We need a local person, not just Nepal, anywhere where you are. You are any local community paper, write for them. Don't charge any money. Then the last thing is go to court. Get the biggest and the best lawyers. Even if you do not have any animal welfare laws in India, in Nepal, create them through court precedents. Long before we had any protection, that is what I did. My first case that I did was, they used to use camels on the beaches in Bombay. And we had a good lawyer. Always get the best lawyers, because the best lawyers will do it for you free. It's the small lawyers that really cost a lot of money and you're uncertain about the outcome. So we always take absolutely the biggest and the best. And then we make a pitch to them and we do their homework for them. They're not going to write up anything. We do the homework, they present it in court. See whether you can do that. So the first case was camels off the beaches and we won that. So there are no more camels on the beaches. Then, a second, this followed. Now we have 70 cases in court. And we have never lost a case. Lots of our cases never come up, in the sense that they take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because everything in India takes that long. But they've set precedents. So one is that. Next is, you want to get into schools, don't talk to schools, talk to teachers' unions. Talk to teachers, train teachers. Then get yourself press partners. There must be some 3 or 4 people who are reporters in every paper who want to make their mark somewhere. Nothing, even people who are not animal friendly love reading a story about how this man adopted a bear, or how this poor old man who's got nothing to eat himself goes and feeds 50 dogs. People like happy stories. So start feeding that person happy stories so that you can use them when you have an unhappy story. But lots of press people are there. And the last thing that I have on my list is astrologers. I don't know where, and this is not for the West, but in India, my shelter, the one I'm talking about now, of course I have so many, but our flagship shelter has 800 cows in it. And to feed them would have cost me 3 arms and a leg. So how to do it? So we got hold of astrologers and said it's really important that they be fed on Tuesdays and Saturdays, because Shani will go into Mangal, will go into Ting Tong or whatever, So the astrologers then assiduously told everybody that, oh, you did so much bad. It's like your Hail Marys in church, Instead of saying 10 Hail Marys, it was go and feed the cows 10 times. And so we have never ever spent money for feeding our cows. 1.5 crore rupees comes in through food. No money. What we did was, we made a little shop in front. We rented it out to a man who just has hay and green fodder for cows. And we give him, he pays us no rent. I mean, the shop is technically on rent with no money. His job, if I were to bring fodder for the cows from my house, I would bring a bag full. But if I can buy it on site, I will buy 10 bags full, because it costs nothing. And we keep a little tela, what's a tela?
A cart.
A cart. We keep a cart, and the cart goes in and the man can feed it themselves, feed the thing himself. So every day, thanks to the astrologers, we have a stream of people who come in. On festival days, we actually have to say no or divert it to cows on the road, which are not in our shelter. So see if you can get religious people to work for you. Here, you had Pashupati Nath, which was a disgrace. I mean, I shouldn't say this, but it was a disgrace because it used to have animal sacrifice. And then the Shankaracharya stopped it, which is wonderful, wonderful, because it's a truly magical religious experience to go there. So we have many, mandirs and stuff which did animal sacrifice. And then when we talk to the religious people, they then substitute it because it's simply actually done for money. The meat is sold. It also has many other connotations, but I won't go into those. But many of our temples, you need religious people on your side. So chat up any religious heads. Put them on your side, let them make. For instance, Swami Ramdev. If he has a following here, he has already made a video for us on animal sacrifice. We can give it to you. Get a Supreme Master if she has a following. Find people who are religious heads. Communicate with us. If some of them are in India, we'll get it done. If you've got local religious heads in Nepal, do it. I'm not just talking Nepal, I'm talking anywhere. If you had a church pastor who had any influence, get him to say something. Anyway, that is somewhat of what I want to say. Now I'm going to pass the mic on, and then we'll finish. When we finish, we'll take as many questions as you want.
Thank you. Very nice. Also known as Sangeeta. My guru is Swami Satchidananda, and in the West, for me anyway, we do astrology. Absolutely. We have a sanctuary called Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. A lot of folks think I'm Rowdy Girl, and yes, I became pretty rowdy when my calf, Rowdy Girl, started showing me the community of the cows. You see, I used to be a cattle rancher, me and my husband, in Texas. On Highway 35, it appeared that we had a beautiful pasture full of cows, and on the inside, what's really happening is when the babies would get 6 months old, we would load the babies up, trap them in a trailer, and I'm sad to say that we used to send those babies crying to the sale barn, to the auction, while their mothers followed the trailer crying after them. I am sad to say that I used to participate in the violence of animal agriculture. We are the very first cattle ranch in the world, documented, to go vegan and live to tell about it. Thank you. When I first took on this mission, it was October 31st, 2014, and I didn't do it for any notoriety. I did it because I was literally losing my mind. Being married to a cattle rancher was not fashionable to go vegan. If you are married to a cattle rancher, you don't go vegan. Unless you want a divorce right now. It's as bad as having an affair. It truly is. It was a nightmare for me. But eventually, over time, my husband too went vegan. So my husband Tommy is also, he's known as Mr. Rowdy. He's back home taking care of all the cows. He couldn't come with me. I wish he could, but we have currently 69 bovine, all rescued from slaughter, every single one of them. We have goats, we have chickens, we have ducks, we have rabbits, we have pigs, we have turkey, a turkey named Celie, she owns the place. And we have a myriad of people that come and see us. Now, how did this happen? A normal person like me in Texas that went vegan on a cattle ranch. One of the things I know when people ask me, how did you do this? What can I do? How do I do this? I tell you, everybody sitting in this chair has a story. Everyone has a mission. Everyone is born with a vision in their heart. And what I know as a former performer, I used to sing, I used to perform, I had my own band, country and western show band. And what I know is that I thought that my life purpose was to be a singer. I didn't know that it was to sing for the cows. Okay? What I really found out after all of these things I thought I was supposed to be doing, what the guru, what God showed me is, Renee, your purpose is to be with the cows, to take your guitar and sing to them, to be with them, to teach them, to listen to them. We are all born with a vision. We have to stop long enough to listen and to hear what that is. When I went vegan, and my husband wasn't, I used to go out and live with the cows. I could not stay at home. We had 96 acres at the time, and when I went vegan, I would take my lunch, and I would go with my backpack and my guitar, and I would go be with the cows. When they sat down, I sat down. If they laid down, I laid down. When they walked and ate, I watched them. I would get on the ground with them. I would go lay by them. And eventually, I became one of the herd. I know what it is to be a member of the bovine family. Why? Because I see them as my family. They are my family. Rowdy Girl herself is my child. I had no physical children. But Rowdy Girl and all the cows I see as my own family. They all have names. They all have medical files. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. And what I learned as this all started happening is the world wanted to know our story. I didn't go out there looking for any media, okay? But the media came to us. Why? Because our story was so real, so powerful. Everyone sitting in this room has that story inside them. Everybody has the element of the sun. The sun shines. We all are born to shine. When we know what that is inside of us and we surrender to what we're here for, not what everybody else says we're here for, we will shine and we will attract to us the very thing we need to be that star shine into the world, to attract whatever it is we need to fulfill the mission. Why? Not for ourselves, but for whatever it is that the animals need on this planet. Because every single animal in this world needs your voice. They need your voice, not my voice. My voice is being used for my community, my starshine, my sunshine. You have your own voice, and you need to be heard. You need to shine wherever you are. Whenever we went vegan on the cattle ranch and the media started coming to us, I remember when CBS Evening News called. It was probably 3 months after I went vegan, and I get a call from New York. Steve Hartman on the road. He wanted to come do a story. They heard about us because my husband, he didn't want to get out of the business. He wanted to keep the business. And I said, no, if you send those cows to the sale barn one more time, I'm going to follow you. And I'm going to go to the sale barn, and I'm going to buy them all back with your credit card, and I'm going to bring them back home. This story went viral, okay, because I wasn't kidding. I would have taken a bullet in the street for them animals at that time, and my husband knew it. And he said, Renee, you need to get out of my business. Stop, get out of my business. I said, no, that's no longer a business. These animals are now my family. You try me. And so I started a story, a Facebook journal. It was called Vegan Journal of a Rancher's Wife. My husband didn't know I was doing this because I was desperate to find help, to find support, to find people that would believe in me. And I found vegans started coming to my rescue. And they showed me and they told me, go buy your husband's cows. You can do this. Go buy your husband's cows. And I went, me buy my husband's cows? I mean, seriously? Who does that? But anyway, there's a guy named Kip Anderson. You may know him. He's the director of Cowspiracy. He is on our board of directors, and we became very good friends. And he said, Renee, do what I did. I started a Indiegogo, and I raised money to fund Cowspiracy. He said, do that. And so I set one up, talked to an attorney, got help, did it, and then I went to my husband. I didn't tell him. He did not know any of this. And I said, hey, if you're going to sell all the cows, we were standing in the pasture. I said, why don't you just sell them to me? He said, sell them to you? Are you crazy? I said, yes, I am kind of crazy. You know, at this point in time, I had lost the mind I was living with and had a new one. And I said, if you're going to sell them off the sale barn, what will you sell them to me for? Here I am bargaining with my husband. And he said, oh, yeah, Renee, right. He didn't believe me. He said, yeah, okay, I'll sell them to you. I could get $35,000, $40,000 for them at the sale barn. I'll give them to my wife for $30,000. I said, great. And I said, will you let me keep them on the land for 1 year? He said, yeah, Renee, right, 1 year. I said, how about 2 years? He said, sure, Renee. And he's laughing at me, you know, just laughing. And I went back to my friends on my vegan journal, and I told them, I started the fundraiser, and within 4 months, this is what can happen for each and every one of you. Within 4 months, I raised $36,000, had a festival, raised the money, CBS Evening News came out, told our story. Next thing you know, it's all over the United States of America, and our story went viral, seen millions of times. I didn't mean to become an influencer. It happened. You don't have to try to be an influencer. If you live by your passion and 100% are willing to do whatever you have to do for the animals, I promise you, whatever it is that needs to be found will chase you. It will chase you. And just like the Miss Gandhi, Maneka said, you won't have to worry about it. The money will come. The money will come. We take care of all these animals, and we fundraise, we have members, and I don't know how the money comes, but the money comes to take care of everyone. And when all of our story went viral, the ranchers started calling me. The actual cattle ranchers, the people that vegans can't talk to. Why? Because cattle ranchers don't want to talk to vegans, and vegans think cattle ranchers are the enemy. So what happened? The cattle ranchers started calling me because they saw our story on CBS Evening News, they saw our story on Southwest Airlines, Animal Planet, whatever, and then they started wanting to know how they could also change. They were asking me. This epiphany, this awakening of cattle ranchers started the Rancher Advocacy Program. Our main programming at Rowdy Girl is helping ranchers transition out of animal ag into plant-based farming. Yes. Currently, we are working with a cattle ranch and chicken farm in Arkansas. They used to produce 100,000 chickens every 52 days with a major integrator. And now we are growing mushrooms, exotic mushrooms in these houses. I am happy to say that at capacity, we will be producing 67,000 pounds a week of oyster mushrooms, of lion mane, of trumpet, the kind of mushrooms that the world is clamoring for right now. Why? Because the story is real in you. You all have your own stories. The main thing is to know that your story has power. It already has power. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to ask for it. Your story is genuine. It's real. And then take it to social media. It's very, very important, as you've already heard, to have accounts on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. You know, get volunteers to help you. Eventually, I used to do all my own social media. Now I have people helping me from all over the world. They help me right now. You know, while I'm here, people are helping me with my social media. I also post, but people are helping me. Why? Because when you have consumers that love your story, they want to consume your content. And so you've got to give them content. Give them content that is going to save the animals, save the planet. And then, because our story went so viral, somebody contacted me. Her name is Connie Spence. And Connie is my partner in the Agriculture Fairness Alliance. AFA is a 501c4, and we are a vegan-backed lobbying group, as you've already heard. Also, if you don't take your activism into Congress or into Parliament or wherever that is, you will be totally ineffective. So I have had to learn, you know, and I'm so grateful she came to me. She wanted to know our transition models to transition cattle ranchers to, you know, plant-based farming. And so she took our model and they created the legislation to help farmers transition. So currently we hired 3 lobbyists And all with vegan-backed lobbying dollars. Everybody just volunteers and pays for the lobbyist. And we talk to them lobbyists every single week. Every week we have lobbyists going to the United States White House and talking to our legislators, talking to our representatives. And Connie Spence and I will be on the doorsteps of Congress in February, getting ready for the upcoming Farm Bill, which only comes around every 5 years. You have to get active. You have to stay active. You have to never give up. Never give up. It doesn't matter what you think, how tired you get. Take care of yourself, yes. Above all, take care of yourself. I am the type of extrovert that has to have a whole lot of, thank you, I have to have a whole lot of silence. I have a deep spiritual life. I know that everything that comes from me, the power that comes through me, is not of me. It is not me. It is a power that radiates through me because I'm in line with my mission. That is the secret to me of all great activists, is for you not to do what I did or what anybody else does. Do what calls you and get in touch with your highest power and let that power radiate from you. And I promise that when you do that, great things will happen in your life. I believe that with all my heart. We are also currently working, it's very, very private right now, but we are working with one of the biggest food companies, vegan food companies right now in the world. I can't tell you who, but I can tell you this. Our next project is to teach cattle ranchers how to capture carbon instead of cattle on property. So if you can teach cattle ranchers how to make money rewilding their farm, bringing back the carbon and getting paid to do that instead of farming cattle, they will do that. Because right now in my county, it's a drought, a very big drought. And cattle ranchers are wanting to get out of the business. Why? Because they can't feed their cows. We're feeding our cows, but they can't feed their cows. Okay? Because they kill them every 6 months. They send them to the cell barns. And so now they're taking all of their animals to the cell barn very premature because they cannot feed them and they want to get out of the business. What are they going to do? Our planet is burning. We are on fire. It is a crisis. So it's very important that you all individually find your purpose, find your mission, and start shining not tomorrow, but now for the animals, for the planet, for the world that you live in. Thank you.
Drifting from festival to festival, meeting to meeting. If you even save 5 animals on the road, it's better than sitting at one seminar. Because 20 people will watch you and 20 people will do the same thing and say, oh, why didn't we think about this? Just as she's changed the world, why the ranchers didn't think about it before? No, I'm sorry, I'm going to take 1 minute more. The first letter I ever wrote to the government was, please can we kill the dogs in a better way? Because it was in India, they used to kill the dogs in the Delhi municipality by throwing them into the ground, into pits, and then touching them with electric rods till they died. And this was taken for granted that this was what people did. And then I remember writing saying, please can you do it in a better way? It didn't occur to me that you didn't kill them. And then fortunately, I received an invitation, and the only time I've ever gone abroad, this is the second time, using animal money. I went to a conference in Washington where they were teaching you a county called San Mateo in California had stopped killing animals and they sterilized them. And that gave me the idea, and I came back to India and changed India so that we do not kill animals anymore, dogs. But the idea was given to me. So the ranchers got the idea from her. Each one of you, by working, can generate an idea. Sitting at seminars, listening to this, you just get a simple thing, but after this, do it on the ground.
Thank you. That's very much.
Maneka ma'am and Renee ma'am, thank you so much. My name is Beena Panta. I'm from STC Nepal. I'm from Nepal. One thing I want to say, just I write here and then I write the ma'am, what did they say before? 3 things I have to say here. One thing is we have to meet the parliament people and then government bodies, and then to raise our voice. And then number 2 is we have to our community. Just I add our community. The community is strong anywhere in the world. If community changes things and everything is changed. And our organization is doing these things. We have 2 shelters, one for dogs and other for calf. Just we are trying, not doing big things, just trying. We have to do 1,000 things, just we are doing one thing, I think. Just starting phase. We have to learn so many things. We heard both of ma'am so many things. All we have beautiful stories inside here. All are heroes in our communities, and then foreign countries communities. All are heroes here. All have different beautiful stories. We are seeing the dream, but we can fulfill our dream. We have to see dream first. We all have dream right now. We have to change. We must change. No option. Otherwise, no options. We have to learn the people. One thing I want to say that. To counseling the college students, to counseling the communities. Most of the cases of STC Nepal, I handle the rescues and then abuse and so many cases. Then I'm trying to counseling, and then trying to counseling the community, trying to counseling the people. Everywhere I'm trying to counseling. And then another thing, Maneka ma'am told, we have to request all restaurant for vegan food. Wherever we went, we are going restaurant, we have to request. You have vegan food. We are eating vegetable food, but just pressure them, just request them. You have vegan food because we are vegan. Vegan are increasing. Just talking and talking and talking. It takes time, but it will change sure. So many things we got advice from both of ma'am. So many things we have to try. We are trying to implement in our society. Because we are the local heroes. I'm seeing the local heroes, Nepali communities, local hero over here. Then we are sharing everything here. Then just American country, European country, and then India also. So far, I think everything because of law and then implementation of everything. We are following his footsteps. Our country is small. Population is also small. Yesterday, Maneka ma'am told that try to be a vegan country, first vegan country in Nepal. Just beautiful words. We are trying, but we will do. If we, promise for ourselves, we will do. We can do. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Listen to me. I'll tell you an easy way to do it. You want to make the restaurants vegan. Instead of waiting for mock meat and mock milk, dal is vegan.
Yes.
What you do is you need to invent something which is with a V sign in yellow, alright, for vegan.
Oh.
And the restaurants which write dal as vegetarian, tell them to put it in yellow so that it's vegan. So automatically you will have 20 things on the menu of every restaurant that are already vegan. But they didn't put it as vegan.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you get people into the habit of saying, oh, that's vegan, let me eat that. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So they keep only paneer and milk things as vegetarian.
Yes.
Because that is the understood thing. And let them put the other things as a V in yellow for vegan.
Yeah.
Because green is vegetarian, red is meat, now yellow will be vegan. Can you do that? That's much simpler than them putting new items on the menu. Sorry.
Thank you so much. It is easy things, but just we are trying to implement from tomorrow.
It's just simple. That's very good. There's a very important thing that you must remember. Fake it till you make it.
That's right. Right.
It is easy for Nepal. I think so many green vegetable and then seasonal fruits over here. The weather is very good. Hot, cold, so. There is different type of temperature and then different type of fruits, seasonal fruits and then beans. So many things. It is easy for in Western world rather than Nepal. It is easy in Nepal, I think.
Right.
There are so many vegan food, just yellow food. Just Maneka ma'am told me that it is easy. Just we have to try. We must try.
No? Just get the restaurants to adopt the V yellow. Yeah.
Hi, I won't say much because obviously you've got loads of questions to ask. I think we've got to bear in mind that everybody's story is going to be slightly different from where they're coming from, if it's in the West or in the East. Just to give you a little bit of brief history about myself. I think my mantra is enough is never enough when it's for the animals. You can never do too much. As long as it's positive, proactive and peaceful, that's all it's about for me. I became vegan when I was 6 years old, and I was one of those kids that just fought my parents. I'm not eating meat at 3 years old, even though my family were carnivores. And by 6, I didn't know the word vegan. This was like 5 decades ago. I just understood the concept of veganism, and I didn't want any part of any cruelty inflicted upon animals. My advocacy for the animals has just grown organically with me. So obviously the first thing I started with was peace on my plate. I don't eat them and I don't buy products from them. Then in my teenage years it was always a dream to obviously be able to nurture them, care for them, have an animal sanctuary. I achieved that when I was in my 20s. I never thought it would be possible. I don't come from a privileged background at all. In the West, we would consider my family to be very, very working class, and to have any land was just a fantasy. I never thought it would become a reality. It was a long story that happened in terms of one of the horses that I'd rescued. I was keeping them at a livery yard or a farm. He had an accident and he nearly lost his life. He went to the vet for 13 weeks, and it was at that point that as a family we agreed we cannot continue with this model. We cannot allow the animals to be cared for or in the care of people that don't feel the same way about them as we do. So I got my animal sanctuary, but at that point then, after a few years, I look at the animals that were at the sanctuary and I realised this is not enough. This isn't addressing the billions that are in the food chain and in exploitative industries. I've got to do something else. By this point in time, I've been vegan for like 3 decades. I do come from a successful cycling background, like pre-Olympic background, but I gave that up when I started the sanctuary, and I became a firefighter. And I've done all these things that seem kind of weird to people. I will always assess something and decide, can I make this work for the animals? Do I particularly want to become a firefighter? Not particularly in the community, but A, it's great for advocacy, it's great to show vegan strengths, it's great to, as a community spirit thing. It brings in funds for the animals, and I can do it when the animals don't need me. I'm on call at nights, in the middle of the night. But after that, I thought, no, I need to show the world that a plant-based athlete can be strong. And back in this time, about 20 years ago, well, women's sport certainly wasn't getting the attention that male sport was. But in the UK, we got a runner called Paula Radcliffe who was doing really, really well in the marathon. And she built herself a platform, and the hashtags, if you like, even though this is before social media, were already there to compete in and hopefully complete a marathon. You've got to be really tough. It's mentally and physically the most hard endurance event you can compete in. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But my idea was if I could just compete in and complete a marathon, that shows absolutely definitive proofs that as a vegan, as a long-term vegan, you can basically do anything. So if I can do that, it's not going to prohibit you from like just going about your normal daily life. People say it was a strange idea to take to marathon running, because in my teenage years I did have surgeries which I was told that I would never walk again, let alone be able to run. So it was difficult for me. But I always say with my running, I don't consider that a negative, I consider it a positive, because I think it allowed me to channel myself more and be more desperate to achieve. I'm not after winning races, breaking world records. I've got 4 world records marathon running. I'm not after doing that for trophies, times, prizes or whatever. I'm after doing it for the animals, advocacy for the animals. In fact, when, funnily enough, Keegan Kuhn made a film about me. He made Cowspiracy and What the Hell's with Kip Anderson, and then Keegan contacted me out of the blue and said, hey, I want to make a film about somebody that I really admire. And I said, you know, great, who is it? And he said, it's you. And I thought, well, what do you know about me? And he said, you know, you've done all the positive things all through your life without really knowing it for the animals. So he came over and filmed me and made a film called Running for Good. And I said, why did you call it Running for Good? And he said, because that's what you do, you're running for the good of others. I certainly don't do it for the good of myself. I don't particularly like running. I don't even consider myself to be an athlete. I'm just using athletics for advocacy. And that's what I try to tell other people. You might have a genre in your life, whether it be a firefighter. So when I joined the fire brigade, I was the first woman firefighter in my whole region, let alone the first vegan lady. So it allowed me to start conversations with people, start debates and build awareness 20-25 years ago that actually I'm strong enough to do this. My advocacy, when I started to achieve decent results with running, I kind of wanted to visibly showcase veganism, and that's why in 2004 started the Vegan Runners. Purely because I was getting on the start lines of the world's major marathons with the best runners in the world, and obviously I couldn't go and connect with people individually and say, hey, do you know this, I'm vegan, but seeing this word, you know, and subliminally people making the connection. She's in the elite enclosure with all the Kenyans and the Ethiopians. She must be really, really good. And it allowed me to run through the streets of London, basically closed roads alone, just with this word showcasing. Before, you know, like 17, 18, 19 years ago, people don't, it was, in the West, it was not a big thing. Veganism was not a big thing. Since then, I've, you know, placed in the London Marathon, the world's major marathons. After a while I decided, do I really want to do this anymore? I don't particularly enjoy running. I'm blessed with the fact that I can run, but for me it takes a lot of time to train 100 miles a week. I have got 600 rescued animals to care for and manage and provide for. We've got like 100 cattle, I've got like 120 horses, sheep, pigs, I've got all that going on in my life. So I thought, okay, I've got to be creative. I'm either going to retire or I'm going to do something different. That's when I took to the kind of the ultra stage races, the toughest foot race in the world or whatever it's supposed to be. Just to show different genres, that I'm not just, you know, vital, I'm versatile, I can do it all and I can do it over decades. So I got my world records, I just carry on. In fact, next week I'm going to another big race in Jordan, which I hope to win, which is a multi-stage race, purely to promote veganism. I'm not interested beyond that. I'm not interested in myself. And people ask me about my life. I only eat one meal a day, and I believe that truly I'm blessed to have that meal. It's not about me. It never has been, and it never will be. It's about the animals. Everything I do is for them, and I quite willingly lay down and die for them right now if I had to. That's the way I've always felt, and I never remember feeling any different. So I just carry on plodding where I can. I must admit, in the West, social media is a very toxic environment to inhabit. You will find a lot of resistance to plant-based living. I have done, or in fact, when I came back from winning the North Pole Marathon, I was actually told, I was invited to go on BBC Breakfast, which is a big channel around, all around the world, and I was actually specifically told, please don't mention the fact that you're vegan. So things have changed since then, but back in 2013, 14, 15, 16. Now, I say veganism had exploded, certainly in the UK. I'm not sure that veganism has exploded. Plant-based living might have done, but not veganism. Not what I mean. For me, the food that you eat is about 10th on my list of priorities. It's about the animals, the environment, the way you connect to others, global distribution of wealth, fairness, equality. It's about all those things. So long as I've got enough food, because many people do not have enough food on this planet. They have nothing. So for me to be kind of fussed, if it's beans and potatoes for the rest of my life and I can run on it, I will do. And that's all I'm about. Animals, I promote. I'm an honorary patron of the Vegan Society. I think my biggest form of advocacy actually was, and my proudest moment within my running was starting the Vegan Running Club, which is now the biggest running club in the UK by membership, and it's just a great resource for people who are predisposed to doing sport and are worried about being plant-based. But beyond that, I'm sure you've got loads and loads of questions. I know I've got another little talk to do in a while, so I'll hand the microphone over and let these wonderful people give you their advice.
Sweet suggestion. So we'll straight go to the questions. So I would like to request the volunteers to note down the names of people who are interested for the question.
No, just stand up and ask, or sit down and ask. That's it.
Okay.
Just ask. There's not enough time left.
This teddy bear is Percy Bear. He's become a little bit of a global celebrity. I take him everywhere with me, and he's an honouring patron of the vegan runs. But it's about connecting with youngsters. It's about, certainly when I started to travel the world running marathons, it was like that olive branch of, I'm not going to come in. A lot of people in the West expect, there's a funny saying, how can you tell someone's vegan? And because the first sentence they'll come and tell you they are. It's they see vegans as very confrontational. I'm not about confrontation at all. So Percy's like happy, smiley Percy. To be honest, I don't like the attention on myself, so I hide behind Percy. It's not about me. It's not about any of us. It's about the animals, and I don't want ever. I do say to people, don't worship false idols. It's keep your feet on the ground, not your head in the clouds. It's about the animals, and there is so much suffering going on out there. We haven't got time to be proud. We've got no reason to be proud.
Is there any more question from the audience?
Ma'am, I would like to ask one thing. Like, we are thinking about living... No, it's okay. She can hear. Okay. As we think about living plant-based life and not eating animals for sure, but what about the farming today? Because the plants are produced by the bombardment of poison and pesticides. So plants also are not healthy. So what do you think about that, and what to do?
Plants are not healthy, so you eat meat?
No. What to do for that? What about organic farming?
It's really important.
Yeah.
But the point is, organic farming has to be approached in a sensible way through education. Sikkim is an example where the chief minister took 4 years in which every single person in school was taught how to do organic farming. He had teachers in every school, call them after school hours and make groups. And after 4 years, he turned this place organic.
Right.
And Sikkim is totally, completely organic. Now, the mistake that was made in Sri Lanka. The Prime Minister became organic. He became an organic, and he declared that now everybody will grow organic, so there will be no more urea being imported. As a result, he himself is sitting in exile in Singapore. The whole government, the economy collapsed because the crops grow in the first year. If you're not trained, your crops will grow 20% less.
Right.
If you're not trained.
Right.
If you're trained to handle it and to understand how to grow them at exactly the same level, then nothing will happen. But a fiat that came in created this problem for Sri Lanka, and the whole economy collapsed. The government collapsed over organic farming. So organic is very, very important.
Right.
It's just that Nepal needs to do it by education. You will save a huge amount of money. Every country's outgoings are for a large way because of urea. I know one minister in India has become rich because he's made his house on the India-Nepal border. In, I won't name the place. And every day he is smuggling urea from India to Nepal. Okay? So he has got 50 murders. And that's why they made him a minister. But that's not the point. The point is urea needs to be stopped, and urea is only one of the fertilizers. You need to stop all the pesticides. What Gauri did was, about 5 years ago, when I was minister, she called in the pesticide people. You remember the pesticide? Sorry, what?
The neonicotinoids.
No, not neonicotinoids. We called in the pesticide people, and we actually sat with them on experimentation for pesticides, which also takes place in every country, and we had that stopped. And we also talked to them about which pesticides need not come in. So you have to go through that exercise. You know, Nepal has to grow from just taking 15 dogs into the SPCA and sitting there. You have to make a whiteboard, like I said, make a list of all the big things, starting from making the animal welfare law. You have to give a Bana Banaya law to the government, which includes pesticides. Yeah?
While talking about veganism, we also should promote organic farming.
It has to be.
Because this is the alternative.
Veganism cannot be in isolation. You have to be part of the animal welfare movement, the farmers movement, the wildlife movement, the environmental movement, of which pesticides are a very, very important part. You have to get rid of them.
Right.
But how to get rid of them?
Yeah, I'd like to say something to that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, she's so true, so right. In the West, and it's a great question, because in the West, we are taking it to the next level. It's my mission to take it beyond organic to veganic. In other words, in the West, I'm not sure here, but in the West, they put bone meal, they put feathers, they put blood.
No, but bone meal, feathers, and blood will still work.
Yeah, but however, let me just say this. Even though they will work, they still are animal agriculture. That substance comes from the feedlots. And so what we are doing, this is what we are doing with Rancher Advocacy Program. When we work with our farms, we say they have to be veganic. In other words, whatever we're going to use for your land, it's going to be from a veganic source. In other words, there's somebody I know in Houston, and they have a place called Farm Dirt. And this is an incredibly amazing place. It's in the middle of just a very, very poor community. He bought up 6 or 7 blocks, very cheap, and all the Whole Foods, all the grocery stores from all around come and bring all their produce to him. All the tree companies, all the shrub companies, all the extra trees that they trim, they bring all of that, they dump it. He has this system of plexi, like tubes. They run plastic tubes that run on the ground with holes, with a generator, and he pumps up this oxygen through all these just blocks and blocks and blocks of these tubes that bring oxygen up. All of this organic, veganic matter, no bones, no blood, no feathers, on top of all this. And within 30 days, he has the most amazing veganic dirt.
Write this down, learn it, it's on the net.
Yeah, it's very, very important because you can smell the purity. When we first started our first seed, Kip Anderson wanted us to start a veganic garden. He wanted us to prove it. Not that the blood and the bone and the feathers won't work, because yes, they will. But in the future, very near future, we've got to end animal agriculture. And if we're going to end animal agriculture, I really believe this, then we have to go beyond organic and go veganic. Because the row crops, we got to stop the row cropping. We got to start bringing back deforestation. We got to teach people how to use their land in the native way so that they're growing the plants, the shrubs, they're bringing back all of the natural elements of that land so that we can bring back the natural
what
ways
he
of
actually
food.
meant was chemicals.
Yeah.
The third world
Yeah.
is your biggest buyer, so we're inundated with 600 pesticides.
Right, just like the soy in the United States. 90% of the soy grown feeds what? Cattle. You know, why? Because the big chemical companies are all involved with that. Only 10% of the soy goes to feed humans. And I hear your question, and I understand, but where I'm going with this is that if you are taking your land and you're restoring it back to natural balance, then you're not going to be using chemicals. That's where I was going. We've got to restore land. See, we only have one planet. We have one mother, our Earth. And I am here, just like I heard Friend Fiona say, I'm here for one reason only. To shout as loud as I can for the animals and for our mother. That we are on fire, we're burning. We have to learn how to take care of this land without chemicals, bring it back to balance, restore it. She teaches us naturally.
No,
we know chemicals won't work.
The thing is that in this case, it's going to have to be a political decision.
It is going to have to be a political decision. But who drives the politics? Either the powerful people in politics do it because your voice isn't heard and you think you don't have a voice, or you get in there and you get busy and you go to the steps of your parliament or Congress, as we are in the United States. Me and my partner Connie, we are determined every 3 months to go to the doorsteps of Congress. We're taking our lobbyists with us. We are meeting with legislators. We are not anything special. You know, we're just, and women, you know, they want to hear your voice. But if you're not there, they do everything they can to whatever they want to do. You have to show up. Your voice matters. And you take all of these things together and you get the results. But it takes all of you. And you do have to make your voice heard in government. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we don't have much time, unfortunately, due to a new session to be started in politics that is coming through. And they want to make change. but whenever the topic of animal welfare comes in, they don't have any answers. Maybe they don't have any senior politician or senior leaders guiding them with suggestions. So what would be your suggestion to the young politicians who are trying to make changes in Nepal, and what could be the first step that they could take to make the changes? Thank you.
It's too vast a question. I have no idea. I learn through the net. I learn through experience. So these young people, they will only learn. See, animal welfare is not on their agenda at all.
Yeah.
But you have an election coming up in 1 month. You're so lucky. And you have 1 month to prepare that every single person standing for election from any party, you are now going to start raising your voice saying, what are you putting into your party's agenda? So are you going to put and make 20 separate dockets? Are you going to bring in an animal welfare law? Yes or no? Are you going to, how much are you going to tax the import of meat? Are you going to have a law that controls slaughterhouses? What are you going to do about Gadi mine? What are you going to do about the sterilization of dogs? If you give them specific responses, I mean specific questions, now, and say that just the same way as they go to a street meeting, let them come to a vegan meeting. Organize a meeting with at least 500 people in it. Can you do that?
Yes.
500 people? Yeah, get anybody, even if they're not vegan, to come to it and let them answer questions without shouting, screaming or anything. You will find that immediately they will learn on the spot. And you will get a completely different kind of aware parliament, no matter who wins.
Yes.
But if you do not put this on the agenda now, you will have to wait 5 more years.
Exactly. Exactly.
And do we have 5 years? I don't have 5 minutes.
No.
So you are lucky. This is a good time.
This is the right time.
Yeah.
Can I
So do it as of tomorrow.
Here. You've got a very beautiful country here that's just developing, and you've got the opportunity to bring it to fruition in the right way. I can tell you now that in the UK it's corrupt, it's soiled, there's things going on you won't imagine. Fight for things like no fast food chains not to be opened here, like McDonald's, stuff like that.
Yes.
Believe it or not, we've got 5 new McDonald's opening in the UK this week. That doesn't tell me that people are going plant-based. It tells me that there is a kind of commercial drive to push people towards eating meat and dairy. Now, for instance, people in the UK are extremely unhealthy. They suffer from obesity terribly.
Come back to Nepal.
I've always said, but don't let Nepal, that protect this country. Don't let it become like the UK.
Right.
Don't let it happen there. It's horrible. You have this jewel in the crown. But what I will warn you about, if Nepal flourishes, you'll get commerce comes into play, and then you've got to be very, very vigilant. For instance, smallholding farmers in the UK that are trying to do things more ethically for animals are being forced out because of the price of feed. Does that mean that animal agriculture is ending? No, it means that the plans to make all animal agriculture under 8 super farms in the UK. That's what they're aiming for, 8 super farms with cattle in. All I would say is, you have this opportunity, you have this beautiful treasure, don't let it become corrupt. Do it in the right way, gradually.
So you make 10 questions.
Yeah.
Make a form, print out the form, distribute the forms right now.
And show that it's important to you people. You are aware of what you have here, and make sure through legislation that you can make a difference right at the very start, because the anger, the greed will creep in.
Yeah.
I just want to finish with say this. What she just said, in the United States, it's the same. What I noticed here, being in Nepal, is everything is at least visible. You can see the beauty, you can see all of the beautiful things, but you can also see the animal cruelty in the streets, right? You can see all of it in the streets.
But at least
it's
still cruel.
Yeah, but at least it's in your face here. In the United States, everything is hidden. You see nothing in the streets in the United States. Everything's normalized. You know, all you see is the consumerism, the McDonald's, the Burger Kings. Everything's consumer driven. And that's what's going to happen with all the plant-based foods too. It's just all consumer driven, when what we really need to be doing is exploring and considering the fact that we need to become really conscious about the fact that we can also turn what is a beautiful movement into a consumer driven nightmare. You know, and so I totally agree.
Because they sell veganism in the West. They sell it in the West as it being healthy. Yeah, it's not healthy. It's processed.
It's processed, exactly.
1 second, since we don't have time, and they have a Nepalese election, and the question was about how they can influence the election. Let's come back to that without any generic thing. First, make a leaflet. Make a leaflet. Put 10 questions on it. Whether you want to talk about pesticides, what is your stand on pesticides? What is your stand on
killing of animals in temples and calling it sacrifice?
No, don't do that. Don't go there. Don't go there. You'll lose all the rest. Do not go into anything that will involve a sharp stand. Give the politician enough time to ease into this. So give 10 questions like that. You've written down the questions that I want. Think, are there any more questions that you think should be on the agenda? Because I want it printed out by tomorrow or day after. Print it out, hand it out to, by now you know who's going to stand for election. Every party should get this and given out. Give it, if you can organize young people. After all, you had 90 volunteers for this event. Getting 90 people together is a miracle. You had applications from 400 people. You have a managing committee of 32 people. You have a whole army here. Can you make them go from door to door, shop to shop, door to door, and simply give that leaflet out and say, please ask whoever's standing for election to sign this. Put it into the party headquarters of each party, no matter even if it's the vegetarian party, which apparently exists here.
Vegetarian party.
So put it into the Congress, into the communists, into the socialists, into the Maoists. Let everybody, and put a heap and say we want this answer. Also, we want each party to come to our do. We'll guarantee you 500 potential voters. Do not ask for debates, because nobody will turn up. Let them come, make their spiel and go. But do it. Out of each party, how many people will stand? I mean, how many seats do you have in Parliament?
We had 600 the last time.
What?
So it keeps on adding, like even if we don't.
So you have 10 people per MP?
Let's say that.
I mean, we in India have 535 and we think that's too many. But alright, so you have 600. So that means 6,000 people will be standing. 6,000 people means 60,000 leaflets, 1 lakh leaflets. That's not too much. That's not too much at all. Choose the MPs. Choose to bring this onto the issue right now before the election. See, your election is in November. This is September. By October, it will be too late. So start now. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you very much.